Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper here, and today I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to the brand new multi-effects processor called Super VHS from Baby Audio. If you're into lo-fi or vintage sounds, this is definitely a plugin you're going to want to check out in depth. But to get you started, I'm going to walk you through what it has to offer and play you some sound examples along the way. So this is Super VHS on the screen here, and what Baby Audio are trying to do was recreate the sound of the 80s with the slightly out of tune synths, warm tape saturation, gritty samples, and grainy reverbs. On the face of the unit, we've got the mix knob or the mix slider here, which is just going to set the balance of the affected signal with the dry signal. We have an output gain slider here, which is useful, especially when you're using the heat knob, which is going to create more volume and more gain. If you want to keep things balanced, you might have to pull down on the output. And then below those two, we have 6 unique one knob effects. We've got heat, we've got a magic here, it's just a button, drift, wash, and then 2 sliders down here for static and shape. So let's talk about those. First, the simplest is the static. This is just a noise generator. It's a very pleasant noise. From there we have shape, which is a sample rate reducer with some hidden extras inspired by some of the greatest samplers of the 80s. And in terms of that hidden processing, it's got a high shelf EQ, bit crusher, and a limiter to make sure things stay in control. So let's check that out. The best place to check that out is probably on some drums. So what I'm going to do is come into VST3's, Baby Audio, Super VHS, drop it on the drums there. Go ahead and close this down, solo it, and let's just go ahead and add some of the shape to it. So you can see there it is getting bit crushed and sample rate reduced, but it's staying in control because of the limiter and the shelving EQ. Another great effect to use on drums is the heat knob. This has a warm sounding saturation algorithm inspired by analog tape machines. And the more you push it, the more heat you'll get. So with the heat, it is a saturation, but as you push it past 50%, you're going to start to get distortion. And a good method here would be to roll back on the mix and, of course, adjust the output to keep the signal about the same strength until you have a nice crunchy bit being added to the top of those drums to make them more character-driven and stick out better in the mix as well. I'm going to go ahead and reset these. Next up, I want to focus on wash. Wash is a grainy hall reverb that sounds anything but natural. So let's go ahead and check it out on these drums. From there, we can go over to drift, which has a pitch fluctuation LFO that creates unpredictable instability, ranging from subtle to extreme. And one thing that I found really works well is if you automate the pitch knob over time, you get even more extreme pitch drifting. So this is better suited for something like pads. So if we come over here to, let's say, this pad sound and drop it on there. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and crank it up and let you hear the difference. Now watch what happens if I move this up and down rapidly, which can be done either with your mouse or your controller or some automation, and you can really hear the drifting stand out. So depending on how much of that effect you want, that is another option there as well. From there, we have the magic button. There is no slider or knob here. You just turn it on or turn it off. And this is something like a lush Juno style chorus, but with a slightly deeper tone. And I'm sure you'll hear it when I turn it on. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, if you wanted less of that, all you'd need to do is pull back on the mix slider here. And there you go. That's Super VHS, a very simple to use but effective plugin at making lo-fi and vintage sounds. You can check out more about Super VHS by Baby Audio by clicking the link in the video description. I'm Joshua Casper, and I'll see you in the next video.